Well, hello, everyone. Glad you are here. Stay tight. We'll be back and get started in just a moment. All right. So, hello, everyone. This is Lynn Hamilton, your favorite lead instructor at Samson Properties, to bring you yet another exciting episode of the Learning Trails. In today's session, we're going to talk about understanding the DISC, the DISC personality profile, understanding a little bit about maybe what you are, but then I'm going to go ahead and combine it with a little bit of working with a consumer as well and some absolute kind of key points and takeaway. Now, seeing that this is our Thursday Zoom, I want to remind you that there is the full session of DISC Part 1 and DISC Part 2 that is already embedded into Samson University. I believe it's still sitting on my channel in there. But if this is something that you go, this is interesting, maybe I'd like to learn a little bit more about it or take a deeper dive into it, there's the full 2.5 hours of recorded sessions from Part 1, Part 2. Part 1, again, we'll take a little bit deeper dive into understanding what you are, where that helps and where that can hurt. I don't say hurt, is your blind spot, I like to call it. And then in DISC Part 2, it is really driven towards working with the consumer and reading them like a book. Now, as a certified DISC instructor, I can pretty much peg when I put my DISC thinking cap on, I can pretty much peg what people are and or where their strength is. Understanding DISC is not an intelligence exam at all. It is strictly driven on how you naturally respond and react and how I want to say how you're programmed. There is no right or wrong. Everybody has a bit of a D, which is the dominant, the I, which is the influencer, the S, which is the steady and system side of us, and the C, which is the compliant and controller side of us. So we have all D, I, S, and C in our makeup. What the assessment, if you choose to ever take it, is going to allow you to see is where you're higher, where you're lower, what percentage you are within the scale of 110 or 100%. And you will be all of the above. Now, seldom have I seen anyone that was perfectly balanced, DISC across the board. Usually one or two are higher and the other two are lower. Often, and I've kept these, printed them out and tracked them forever in a lifetime. Oftentimes, your D and your C's will, if you're high at D, you're probably a high C as well. If you're an I, you're probably, not always, but you're probably a high S as well. Now, sometimes you're mix and match, and that's okay. Now, I understand this is as confusing as can be, so just take yourself some notes as you go along. But the D, again, is very driven, very results orientated. Often the my way, the highway. Often the cut the crap, get to the bottom line. And that is their mindset and their focus. They're quick to make decisions, but if they then later discover they're off course just a little bit, they're also quick to analyze and course correct. They have no problem in saying, okay, we just need to adjust here, boom, and move on. They are typically not, they typically do not fall into the paralysis from analysis. That is typically your C personality styles. So let's talk about the C for a minute. C is very compliant. C will want to know the rules and regulations. They want to know that you are following them. Do not tell them you are ethical. show them that you are ethical. It's a show, not tell. Your C's, again, they love the fact that there's a checklist, and you are going to follow that checklist methodically as you go through buyer and or seller consultations and the whole transaction. Okay. Let's talk about your S's. Your S's are very steady. They're very much into systems. Again, they love to know there's a checklist in place. One of the things that I'm going to say your S and your C are both concerned about is being taken advantage of or misguided or misled. They want to know there is a system and that system is going to be followed. Your S's and I'm going to say probably more towards your C's. Your C is the one that when you sit down with them to review a contract, they're going to go, hang on a second, I need to read it. And they will proceed to read every word on there before they sign it. We're going to talk about that, how to handle them later. Your D's will read it. Your I will go, oh, I trust you. Where do I sign? Your I personality style is one that is very upbeat. Glass is always half full. It is never half empty. Very people orientated, very results driven as well. But damn it all, we're going to have fun doing it. The D doesn't give a rip if you're having fun or not. The D wants the bottom line, the information, let's go. Your I's, we're going to make sure whatever we're going to be doing, we're going to have a good time doing it. Your S's, again, to reiterate, are going to make sure that you are aware that there is a system and you're going to follow that system. Checklists. Your C's are the ones that, oh, again, they know there's rules. They know there's regulations. And do not be surprised if they go look them up and quote them back to you. Slight exaggeration, but I'm driving the point home. All right. So there is the quick overview of what the D, the I, the S, the C personality styles, their strengths. What will usually jump out at you regarding them. And you will often find there's that old saying, birds of a feather flock together. So if they're all high D's, they will know others that are around them that are also high D's. Now that can be good or that can be bad. The ones that immediately jump to mind is our amazing military. The higher up they go, the more D comes out. And if that is not a natural instinct for them, it's either developed, because again, they need to make quick decisions, but if they're off, they're quick to acknowledge and quick to adjust. Sometimes it can be a pain in the royal patoot to work with. That's okay. I've had to deal with a couple in my career. But again, they are very driven and results orientated as well. Okay, so there's your DISC. So if you get a referral from someone, there is a 50-50 chance that that referral is going to be similar or complementary to what the original person was. So if you knew what they were, you kind of got an idea of what you're going to be getting in a referral from a friend. All right. So it's not about how people think, how they act, how they feel, how they react, how they behave, or how they speak. It's just kind of how they're wired, how they're programmed, but there are definite giveaways. Now, if you are going, ooh, this is intriguing, and I'd really like to know what I am and how I rate on my chart, here is a bonus for you. In Samson University, where all of our courses are housed, there is the one, of course, that I've done on DISC. If you choose to listen to it, and again, this is one of those ones you can listen to a half a dozen times and finally you go, oh, now I get that part. But if In there, I talk about Tony Robbins. He has a DISC assessment on his website. Now, as a certified DISC instructor, I do have access to a DISC assessment test. However, the one that I have available to me through the program that I went through, I believe is expensive, and I can get the same information in a better visual chart for you, the beginner, if you will, from the Tony Robbins website. So if you are wanting to have your assessment done, it's through tonyrobbins.com/disc. Once you take it, there is I'm going to say $20 or $25 charge to get the results fully printed out. My opinion, it is worth it. You do not, I believe, do not need to pay for the $50 or $100 one. The basic one will give you and me what I need. If you do that, and again, it sends you the results immediately, forward it over to me and say, I'd like to schedule a one-on-one. I will look it over. I will reach out to you. I will schedule a one-on-one with you to go over in about 30 minutes the highlights and the blind spot, shall we say, that you have regarding your personality style, where your strength is going to come from, and kind of sometimes that helps us go on the path that we need to run a little bit better. And I'm also going to give you where your lower, and again, it's not bad. It's just that's your blind spot, what you need to be kind of aware of when you're dealing with somebody who is that personality style, when that is your blind spot. Does that make sense? Okay. So that is what I'm offering to all of you if you are so inclined to do that. I know a lot of agents have taken advantage of that. And again, we find it very helpful because it's definitely going to help you and identify, oh, so that's why I do that all the time. There you have it. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. Again, we've already talked about the DISC being very dominant, very strong egos. Oh my God, yes, strong egos oftentimes. Very active, very aggressive. They're problem solvers. They're analytical researchers. They're the bottom line thinkers. They're leaders. Because they want to lead. They're very task orientated. They're very quick to make decisions, but also they're quick to identify if they jumped into the fire and they need to adjust. They're quick to do that as well. And again, in a lot of positions, that is very valuable. Again, quick recap of your I, very outgoing, very verbal. Can't imagine me being one of those. Highly optimistic and trusting, sometimes trusting to a fault. Very emotional, very people orientated, and sometimes impulsive. So that is your I. Your S goes into being very steady. They're very stable. They're very predictable. They are good listeners. They want to understand. They're very positive, friendly, and people orientated. That is my second strongest in my DISC assessment as well. Third, which mine is right up there as well, it's very compliant and very controlling. They are very compliant in the fact that they are very precise. They are correct. They are exact. If it is supposed to be, nurses are phenomenal in this, because if it's supposed to be a 0.5 milliliter, you get 0.5 milliliter. You do not get a 0.4 and a half. If it's 5, it's 5. So again, very precise, very exact. Doctors also fall into that category often as well. They're very analytical and fact-finding. They have very high standards, but they're very systematized. They are very conscientious, but they're also very task-orientated. So they want to know there is a process and a procedure. Think about a doctor or a nurse. If you've stubbed your toe and you got to go into the doctor doesn't go, oh, well, let's go into surgery. I'll meet you there in an hour and we'll figure this out. No, that's not how they think. They're going to be very analytical, fact finding, precise. They're going to make sure they're correct. There you go. They're the ones that will research and analyze anything and everything. When you're dealing with one in the real estate world, they're the ones I mentioned before will read the contract word for word before they ever will put a pen on it to sign it. So don't expect them to sign here, press hard, and move on. Okay. All right. Within those learning styles, and again, let's talk about how this may impact you. The D is what's called the racer as well. They're fast paced, big picture, independent, and they're also asking what's in it for me. The I is fast paced, interactive, fun, imagine, group projects, and what or who else. They want to know who else is doing this. Because you know what? We can do it better. Just saying. Okay. Your C is the thinker, very slow paced, needs details, needs structure, needs a schedule, and God, it better be accurate. Your S, again, is the listener. They're very slow paced. They look for support from the teacher. They love one-on-one learning, and they will take notes. So now that hopefully is fresh, think about that for a second. Think about what you are going to guess you are. Here is how you would interact slightly with a DISC if you were obviously the real estate agent. The first thing, if you are dealing with a D, you will not go, and here's the kitchen, and here's the bathroom, because they're going to look at you and go, do you think I'm a friggin' idiot? They will think it. Some of them will actually say it. Now, they want to know bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, year built, year of the roof, year of the hot water heater, any upgrades. They want data. When I'm dealing with somebody like that, I would take the printout of the MLS that I'm going to be giving them, and I'm going to highlight, if we're going to, we're going to highlight all that specific data on the MLS printout form for them, so they don't have to look for it. It's going to be boom right there for them to see. They love it, and they think you are the best thing since sliced bread. Okay. Your C is, again, the very slow paced. They need details. If you say the house was built in, I think, 2022, oh no, you better have the month, almost the date, just kidding, and the year. They need details. Was it started then or was it completed then? They're going to be very detail orientated. They may drive you crazy if you are not a strong C, but no, they are very loyal once you have proven yourself to them as well. They need structure, thus the buyer consultation, thus the seller consultation. They need a schedule. That is where the what comes next. And they will double check if it's accurate, which is fine. Okay. Again, great to work with, but as when you can recognize what they are and feed to that just one little thing, oh my God, you have just majorly won them over. Your I, fast pace, going to have fun, group projects. Who else is doing it? Now, if you are showing property to an I and you catch that and they're talking about, oh, this would be great for, for barbecues and family events. And that's when you would ask, and where would you think about putting the Christmas tree? If they're Jewish, you may not want to ask that question, but you may or may not know that. But the point being is they want to have fun. They're going to turn that house into, a great place for everyone to come over and relax and enjoy and hang out. Your I is the one that says, oh, I trust you. Where do I sign? Now they will skim it. That is when you as an agent, knowing that is how they are, you want to go, okay, I know that you trust me and I know, it's sign here, press hard, but I want to make sure you double check me. This is what the contract is saying. This is what we're asking for. And be very direct on the blocks that you filled out. You want to bring their attention to that because, again, the last thing you want as an agent is if it backfires and they come back and say, well, I trusted them and I just signed where they told me to sign. Not a good place to be in. Okay. So make sure with them. Now, when you have gone out with a high I personality and have shown a couple properties in the course of the day, the best thing to do with them is, hey, got a few extra minutes to join me for a quick coffee as we go through and review what we've seen today. And they're going, sure, yeah. Okay. You sit down with them, and that's when you make sure that they have filled out the survey for each property, that they have given a scale on a scale of 1 to 10, how would they rate that property? Then you sit down with them and say, okay, if you had to make a selection today, which you don't, but you should maybe, depending on the market, if you had to make a decision right now, take these 5 that we've just seen and put them in order of your first choice, second, third, fourth, and fifth. I frankly did that with every client I worked with. Put them in order of what we've just seen. This way, again, regardless if they're a DIS or C, they're going to appreciate that. When you're able to check the MLS tomorrow and find out that their first choice is now off the market, you are able to come back to them, update them with, I know that 123 Main Street was your first choice. I checked on it this morning or this afternoon or this evening, and it is no longer available. Apparently, they have had a contract come in on it that their seller has accepted. Your D appreciates that because now they don't have to think about it anymore. Your I is going to go, oh gosh darn. Okay, that's fine. Your S's and C's are going to know that you are still very systematic and systematizing everything, but it also tells them if they think on it too long, which they are tempted and like to do, it may be gone by the time they make their decision. So that is why knowing a little bit about the DISC is going to be to your advantage when you're dealing with buyers and sellers. Okay. Let's say you have just shown your S's or your C's. Again, they want to know, there's what is the system? What comes next? What's my next step? What's my next step? What's my next step? What's your next step? What's my next step? They're going to eat that up. Your C's, their biggest fear is change and being taken advantage of. However, what I have often found with friends of mine who were very high C's, they will stay in either a relationship or in a job that they absolutely need to be away from, but because of the fear of change and the fear of the unknown and the fear of anything else that can pop up, they will not make a move. They're the ones that need to think about it. So, and they want to read everything because they want to make sure. Those are the ones when you hear, oh, I need to think about it. Okay. And you're kind of getting this vibe from them. That is a great tool to come up with is, hey, Karen, I know that you are very detailed and I appreciate that. I love it. I have a question. Would you appreciate getting a generic copy, a draft copy of all the contracts that are and documents that are going to be coming up that are going to need your signature on them, your approval on them ahead of time, so you've got time to methodically go through them and be prepared to ask me any questions when we sit down to put pen to paper. Okay. They will usually light up like a Christmas tree. Now you know you just got them. Because what I would do then is I would print out, and we used to be able to put draft on them, or you just write draft on them, a generic copy so they can review them in their leisure time, go through it with a fine tooth comb. And I would even often give them a highlighter or a post-it notes. That way, if they found something they had a question about, they could highlight it because it's just a draft copy. They can highlight it and we can make sure we address it because they ain't signing diddly until they know what it says. So that is a great tip and technique when you're dealing with someone who is that SC that wants to dot the I's and cross the T's, but they're not signing anything until they've read it thoroughly yet. So that's a great way to handle. And again, it's bringing your value for them to the table. Now, if you are a DC personality and you're working with an I, the fact that they just, oh, I trust you, where do I sign, is going to drive you back crazy. Because you cannot imagine anybody doing any of that because that is not in your wheelhouse of comprehension. The takeaway on all of this is you as a real estate professional need to understand this a little bit and then become the chameleon to change colors with them. So if they're a D, I can keep up with a D with the best of them. If they're an I, we're good to go. If they're an S, we're good to go. And if they're a C, we're good to go. Now, I remember early on in my career, I was referred to a client. She was her husband had passed away. They had a beautiful custom home in La Mesa, built by one of the designers of the day. It was in pristine condition, the original kitchen, and you could go eat off the floor. You could eat off the original oven. I mean, it was immaculate. She was, well, her and her husband owned a pharmacy. He was the pharmacist. She was the assistant. She did the books. She did every penny. I mean, you talk about minuscule detail, checked and double checked. That was her. She had been taken advantage of by some neighbors when they talked her into doing a yard sale because she was not aware of some of the treasures she had, and they bought it for like $5 when it should have been $55. So she was a little, on the edge. So someone had told her that what she needed to do was to hire a broker and an agent who specialized in La Mesa. Well, at that time, we had an office in La Mesa. We also had one in El Cajon, which, again, the two little communities butted up to one another. So I ran she asked about it. I'm thinking, okay, I can run the numbers. I'm thinking, why in the heck does she want this? I'm just like, what the heck? Then it popped into me, Lynn, what does her disc profile look like? I knew because he was the pharmacist who has passed. She was still at the age of 80 something, sharp as a tack, and a bookkeeper for a very large church in the area. So I knew the details that she was going to dot the I's and cross the T's. So I thought, okay, I'll pull her that information. And I pulled it for her. It was interesting because our office was the number one office in that whole footprint. And so I got that information back to her. And then the next day I said, oh, here's a little more information I came across when I was doing your research for you. I found it interesting. I thought you might enjoy it as well. It was I don't remember, some stats about something. The fact that I spoke her language and that I understood that she needed details and data, and I dished it back, she never questioned me again. I had won her confidence, and we moved forward selling this $550,000 home many years ago. And it was a substantial commission check at the end. But I stepped in when There was somebody who, ironically, I knew who was doing the estate sale for her to help her liquidate stuff instead of doing a yard sale. And I showed up to help. She was like, wow. So she left for a while. She came back and she says, I'm going to go down and pick up sandwiches for everybody. What does everybody want? So she took her, took our little orders and went down and got us sandwiches. And when she came back and we were done, as we're wrapping it up, she made us all come in and sit down at the dining room table and have a sandwich with her. That was important to her. But we had won her over because we were protecting her and what was important to her. Now, if it would have been just, oh, willy-nilly, come on, and we're going to have fun, it's going to be great. Totally, totally would not have chameleon her and, fell in to what was important to her. This is where I think a huge mistake that agents make. And when I teach this class, I always ask, have you ever gone in and done a buyer or seller consultation and thought, woohoo, I nailed it, man, I was rocking it, this was really good, only to find out a day or two later they went and listed with somebody else? You didn't connect with them. You may have done a great presentation based off your style, but if their strong points of style was in the other categories, you might as well spoke to them in, Chinese or Latin or Spanish or whatever language they couldn't understand. So when you understand that this becomes a piece of the puzzle, that the better you get at it and the more you understand it, the more value you can bring to the client, not to yourself, because it ain't about you, honey. It's about how you can take care of them and be that chameleon for them and guide them through the process. Okay, so let me flip through real quick to see what other things, what other things will jump out. Lots of comparisons of the D, the I, the S, the C in the handouts that go along with the full class. But one in particular that I want to share just for fun. Okay, so let's pretend a D, an I, an S, and a C are going to take a road trip. Who is going to be the driver? The D. Because God forbid the rest of you are idiots and the D is the only one that knows where they're going. All right, so the D is driving. Now, who is going to be in the front seat riding shotgun? That would be the I, because we are going to make sure that we know everyone's favorite kind of music. I have already asked you what your favorite snack is. I want to make sure that you all have a sweater with you just in case it gets cold, because in case we put the top down in the car. The I is going to make sure that everyone is going to have a good time. Now, that leaves the S and C in the back seat. But what are they doing on this little road trip? Your S and your C in the back seat are going, okay, so I have the map. I printed out the instructions in case, the internet goes down. The D driver is going, I have a GPS. And they go, I know, but just in case it goes out, we're going to have plan B, C, and D. So I know that you got the GPS, but I have the map. I have the printout. I've got alternate routes in case there's a road closure. I got this. D is rolling their eyes going, whatever. The other one, probably the C in the back, is going, okay, so Mr. D driver, what's the miles per gallon that you get on this car? Okay, and how many miles are we going to be going? Okay, divided by 4, divided by this, divided by the cost of gas. Okay, so everyone needs to pitch in $14.37 to cover their share. The D is going, whatever. And the I is going, okay, that's good. Okay, so who wants their music put on first? Okay, you're going to draw straws or draw numbers, and because everyone's going to get okay, so it's going to take us 2 hours to get there. That's 30 minutes, 2 hours divided by 4, that's 30 minutes. So every person in the car gets 30 minutes of their favorite radio station. And the S and the C in the back is timing it because they've started their watch. They've started their little timer because you ain't going to get 31 minutes. You're going to get 30 minutes. And then they're going to stop it and put the other channel on. So that is how the D, the I, the S, and the C would probably work together on a fun little road trip. All right. One other fun one to think about. Let's say you are your significant other or a family member is obviously different from what you are. And you want to hang a picture. And you go, yeah, there about looks good. Stick the nail in the, just put the nail in. Your S and C is about ready to have a heart attack. Oh my God, you can't do that. I need the hammer. I need the level. I need the stud finder because we need to find this, we need to find this, the laser measure to give me the center of the wall, then calculate how big the picture is, and then find the center, find the studs, make sure you got your nails going into the studs because I'm not got to use the hooks, and we're not putting a nail in the wall until I know where the studs are at. I can put them up there evenly so the picture will hang properly. And the I is going, hang the dang picture. Okay, there is a fun, slight exaggeration, but not much of the difference. And you will start recognizing that with people that you know as well and have a little fun with it. Okay, let's jump over for the last few minutes and I'm going to give you some of the takeaways of communicating with or discussing with when you hear someone say, and again, this kind of ties into their learning styles as well. Again, we got 4 personality styles and 3 learning styles. You do not know what they are, but we're all a mix of all of the above. Your learning styles are that of auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. Kinesthetic means they need their hands on it. This is why we make sure that with buyer and seller consultations, you have something they can get in their hands. They are visual, they need to see it. They're auditory, they need to hear it. And they're kinesthetic, they need their hands on it. So let's say you are just auditory and you're talking and talking and talking and you're coaching them and you're walking them through the buyer consultation and you've given them nothing to hold on to and you're talking and you're talking and you're talking and you're talking. But you're left with nothing. More than likely, you're losing them because they don't remember 90% of what you said because they're a visual and a kinesthetic learner. That will come back to bite you in the butt because if something happens and they go, well, I was never told that, and you as the agent say, well, yes, I did, prove it. You can't prove it. So when Kevin's got to come in to serve as the professional witness in that case to say what are the standards of practice and what should have been done, you're going down the drain. He's a great friend to have, but you don't want him as an enemy. I'm just throwing that one out there. So you want to make sure that's why I've asked every single time you do a buyer or a seller, you absolutely do a buyer and a seller consultation and leave them the packet with them. That way you have CYA'd. You've covered your batoot. What often happens is when there's a problem that then comes out of the situation, the agent says, well, I told him, and you usually have to pick me up off the floor laughing because I'm going, yeah, but if they're a visual or kinesthetic learner, they're not remembering 95% of what you said. And most people aren't remembering 80 to 90% of what you said. That's why when I do my classes, it is visual, it is auditory, and is kinesthetic. We've given you a handout. We try to hit the D, I, S, and C all in there as well. You just don't know that because I know that. All right. So let's say you're working with, again, a buyer or seller. I want you to start being aware the next time you're talking to anybody about anything. If they say, oh, I see the market's doing XYZ, or I see interest rates are doing this, or I see blah, blah, blah is happening. I see. They are visual. You would respond back to them with, I'm seeing that as well. Or interesting, I'm not seeing that. You're going to respond to them in the similar style that they are. Now, if they say, oh, well, I hear that the market's doing this, or I hear the market's doing that, or I hear this is happening out there, they're auditory. So that is when you would respond back to them. It's called mirroring as well. I'm hearing that too, or I've heard that, but my study or my data is showing me otherwise. So what is the data that you have available to you that may be showing you otherwise? Two things. You have Donnie's weekend update that usually comes out every Friday. He'll send you a reminder on Monday in case you missed it. He talks about what's going on in the market. That is your, I'm hearing, well, I'm not hearing that, but this is what I'm hearing. And you've got the data to back it up. The other valuable tool, and I'm loving this like nobody's business, that email that you get, I believe it usually comes out on Tuesday. It's called Market Trends. It comes in from Cardinal Title. Make sure you are getting it. If you are not, double check your spam. Double check, have you changed an email address? And if you are not getting it and you have searched, email the help desk at samsonproperties.net, and tell them you are not getting the Cardinal Title Market Trends. And Lynn has taught you how to leverage that information, and you really need to get a hold of it. They will make sure that you're into the system and in the system correctly, because there could have been a typo in, there just could have been a mistake that's bouncing it out. Make sure that you are reaching out to say, hey, I want to make sure I'm getting this. When they say, I see this is happening, you can say, I'm seeing that too, because I monitor the weekly trends, or I monitor the weekly contract trends. Gang, it is a 5-minute, if that, look and see. Now, you do not send them the email that you get, but you can do a screenshot of a specific component based off your footprint and where you're working, if you need it. But the fact that you have the documentation of it sets you apart. Because to my knowledge, there is no other company that is monitoring their in-house stats on that market trend. They are it's giving you the cutting edge. And by being able to say, I get 2 reports a week, one on market trends and one's on contract stats. And this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm hearing. Again, you just boosted yourself up. Talk about selling your value. There you go. All right. The last part is now you may also find that they say, well, I'm seeing this or I'm hearing this all in one sentence. We're not all schizophrenic. It's just that they are both. Okay. So you want to make sure that you be aware of that, catch it and make a mental note. And then when you respond back, respond in kind. If they say see, you say see. If they say I'm hearing, you say I'm hearing too, or I'm not hearing. So you respond back to them in kind, and that is absolutely going to be a helpful tool for you when you're working with a client. You'll also start catching yourself with how you may answer or talk. If somebody says, hey, how's the market? I hear it's doing this, or I see it's doing this, or I'm finding this. Finding is also kinesthetic. You're got your hands on it, you're looking at it. So it's kind of intriguing when you put yourself into that mode. What are you doing and saying? What are they doing and saying? Can you catch it? And it becomes kind of a game and kind of interesting. Um, the last part of this is when you're communicating with someone by email or by text or by phone. Email is always better because there's a paper trail. It's called CYA. When you are responding to a D personality, you do not want to say, "Hi, how are you? Do you have a great weekend? Isn't it a gorgeous spring day out there?" Because they don't give a rip. Remember, they're the bottom line. Cut the crap, get to the bottom line. The D wants to know, or they may send you an email that says, "I want stats on this," or "I want information on this." Boom. You respond back the same way. Based off your request, here's the information you asked for. Boom, bullet points. They love bullet points. Boom, 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 boom. Anything else, let me know. You're done. Now, if you're dealing with an I, excuse me, your I is going to start off with, "Hey, how are you? It's good to see you." Okay. And if you don't respond back with, "Hey, it's great to hear from you. Hope you had a great weekend," they're going to think, "Oh, are you mad at me?" Little exaggeration, but you get the point. Your S's and your C's, again, want a little warm and fuzzy, but they want details, bullet points. Don't write big paragraphs of stuff. Bullet points are better for your D's, S's, and C's. In reviewing last week's market stats, here's what I found. Boom, 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 boom. Great. Any questions, let me know. So when you are responding, when you get an email in from them, take a look at how they write. That will tell you a lot. And again, mirror it and shoot it back in the same way. Here's the information you asked for. Boom, 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 boom. Any other questions? Let me know. I'm here for you. Bye, gotta go. Didn't you have to say bye, gotta go? Because they're not going to say bye, gotta go. Now, hopefully this has given you some better understanding of the D, the I, the S, the C personality styles. What works not only for you, but be conscious and aware of what they are and respond to them in like mode, and you will win them over. And once you win them over, they are stuck to you like glue, because whatever they are, they think you are the best thing since sliced bread, which is ultimately where you want it to go, so that they are more apt for repeat and referral business down the road. Okay. All right. Let me open up for questions real quick. Let me jump over to the chat to see if there's anything I need to answer. Let me see. Well, I'm scrolling through this. Okay. Kevin, any 2 cents you want to add in? And I see that Greg's got a question. So I got some hands up. Greg, let me start with you. Andy, I'll go to you next, and then Kevin, I'll come back to you. So Greg, what you got?
Well, my question was, how do you think this relates to the text that's written for a listing? 'Cause I usually find that those are very flowery and I get impatient with them. They're never written in bullet points,
Because you're a D,
which
I bet.
I wish they were.
Yeah. Yeah. My guess is you're probably more of a D. What is happening is you're right. When agents write descriptions of properties, it is often very foo-foo. They're trying to get words to make it sound really nice or really good. Sometimes that backfires. Your D's are like, just give me the bullet points. I'm good with that. Um, Also, too, as AI is being used for some descriptions,
Mm.
it depends on what they put in for the directions for AI. But no, absolutely, I agree with you. I read some and just go, "Oh dear Lord." And this is a good point. When you're doing brochures, be careful not to have all just paragraphs. Have as much in a bullet point, boom, 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 as you can. Versus this home offers a beautiful 3,500 square foot. It has 5 bedrooms and 6 baths and da da da, and flows gently into the family room. Okay. Some will love it and others are going to hate it. So bullet point it. Da da boom, da da boom, da da boom, da da boom. You're probably a little bit safer because again, your I's want to skim it, your D's want to skim it, your S's and C's again want to skim because they like that checklist type thing. Okay. Does that help answer your question, Greg?
Yeah, thanks. I just wondered, do you think we should do more bullet points in our prose in general, or
Yeah,
probably?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's a time and a place for the flowery, but not always. Not always. Okay. Let's see who Andy, did you have your hand up too as well, my friend? Where did Andy go? Okay, he'll be back. All right, Mr. Kevin, let me call on you, please. You've been around for a while. What's your take? How comfortable and familiar are you with the disc? Have you found it helpful? And then, what is your 2 cents on Greg's question about the bullet points versus the flowery words?
In the law, we call that a compound question. So I'll try
Yeah.
to answer each of it. But I've been ditched 3 times by the red people and scored exactly the same on each one of them, and can't remember to for my life what that was, other than the fact that I just get out there and I do something. And so that so far has been, my thing. And I talk to lawyers all day, so I just so thankful that you're here because now I get to hear what the real world is doing rather than this weird concocted, vicious, angry, thing that's going on. So, and to answer Greg's question, yeah, I mean, you got to be careful with puffing. And puffing is in used car sales. Puffing is not good in real estate. We can be flowery, we can do all that kind of stuff, but we also have to be careful we don't misrepresent something. And so, again, Virginia, thank God, is such a great place that we just don't have the issues that we have in California. And I'm in Stafford right now. So, but I agree to you have several sections of your MLS where you can put the flowery stuff in there. But what irritates me, Greg, is probably that people will put they will create the public remarks section, then they will copy and paste it into the agent remarks section, which is just kind of weird to me. It's like, why did you repeat yourself? Why? It makes no sense. But um, I don't know. There's value in disc. I think there is, and I like the fact that Tony Robbins. I'm pretty sure he created it, right? Other people have taken credit for it, but I don't believe that to be the case. But Tony's really good. I like him, and but at the end of the day, when you're sitting down in front of the client, you got to remember this stuff, right? That's the hard part is remembering what and sometimes it's just the way to get around all that is just to listen. And I find listening is an amazing lost art. And I think that's where, we really make our money is
Yeah.
listening.
Listening, mirroring back
Yep.
slightly, you know, connecting with them is what's going to do it. And before you know it, yeah, because it starts becoming second nature to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it really does. And yeah, now I will tell you, the only time that now again, once you've done a disc, you will typically stay very similar to what you've been in the past. Okay. Again, within a few points, mine's always been these two up, these two a little bit less. Now, I will tell you one time, and this was funny, in my personal life, my mom was having some health problems. She was in the hospital. I learned why they do not have the windows on the 6th floor of the hospital able to be opened because I'd have put this one particular doctor out the window from the 6th floor. Just saying. And I remember I was sharing with a couple of my friends, and they said, oh, you ought to, because we had just done the disc with all of us, was having fun and giggling over it. They said, oh, you ought to do your disc again and with that mindset on and see what you come back at. So for fun, I did. And my D, which is usually, there, you make me mad or put me in a position where I've got to fight back, my D will elevate. And when I retook it that time in that mode, my D was much higher than it had ever been before. But it was, again, I kind of gave, a good giggle over it because, again, it was in that situation that my D came through the roof. And usually I tell people to kick back, chill out for a minute, and just take the assessment. There's no right or wrong. There's no better answer. It's what you are and how you resonate with it that will run it. So there you go. There is a little bit about the DISC, the DISC personality styles, a little bit about the 3 learning styles and how you can use that better in your real estate business. So Kevin, I see your hand popped up. You got something else?
I was just going to say that for all 3 times that I was ditched, it told me I wasn't going to be good in real estate for one thing, and secondly that I was not going to be good in management. And I did real estate management for very large companies for over 25 years, and because you were there, and so use it as a guide, right?
Mm-hmm.
None of this is like a religious setting of any kind.
Yeah.
But definitely use it as a guide. It's such a great tool to learn how to kind of work with other people. I think the other thing is that NLP, and I'm looking for a guest speaker right now who does neuro linguistic programming. So, but no, you're absolutely right. These are great tools for us, and we really should take advantage, especially all the stuff that Samson offers. I'm just amazed. I don't know how they stay in business. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because our cardinals, my little cardinal or my friend. Yep. If you know, you know. It's because of our agents being willing to use cardinal when they can. That is what helps, fuel all this. But again, disc is a lot of fun. It at first it sounds like you're drinking out of a fire hose, but once you get it and kind of, start seeing it play out, it becomes a game. It does become a game, and you will be much better as a real estate agent. And again, I don't care if you're a D, I, S, or C. You can all survive and sustain a good business in the real estate business, regardless of what you are. But it's knowing what it is, know how to mirror it back, know how to listen for keywords that they may be saying that's going to give you the cutting edge. And there you have it. All right, my friends, that wipes down, rounds down, whatever I was going to say, winds down this session of our learning trails. It is just one more piece of the puzzle that is helping you put it into place to make your business much stronger and much better. So with that, I don't care what you know. I want to know what you're doing with what you know. It is so great to look across this screen and see who all is here with me today. It's great to see you all. Lourdes, missed you. It's great to see you back. Mavis, Greg, Karen. Let's see who else I got on here. Lynn, Mohammed, Theodora, Amber, Homa. Great to see you all. Alana and Ashley, it is great to see you. I know a couple had to jump off because they told me earlier they had other meetings to get to. Thank you for taking the time to be with me, to learn something new, put one more piece of your puzzle into play. You're not going to regret it. So with that, I'm going to let you all go. I hope to see you back in our next session today at 2:30. We're going to be talking about social media and the blog. I'm going to walk you through it. You will do your first post and have your blog up and active. And then talk about how to leverage it and really get some traction out of it. All right. With that, I'll see you all in a little while. Okay.
Thank you,
You're
Thank you so much.
welcome. Bye for now.